So I'm dying to hear Nasheli's story, and I know you all too. So all are too. So let's just take it away with our introduction, so we can get started.
Okay, I'll share my screen. I'm Kerrigan, by the way. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. So we have Nasheli Juliana Ortiz Gonzalez. Oh wait, let me put it in present mode. Okay, and we included a quote that's really impactful from her, that fashion is the reflection of society. A little bit about Nasheli. She was born in Caguas, Puerto Rico, and is a part of the women's collective Taller Malaquita in Puerto Rico. She is co-founder and head designer of 22 Studio, which is a women-led transdisciplinary design practice, and the owner of the fashion label Nasheli Juliana. She is also honored as one of Aldea's 40 Under 40, as one of the Philadelphia region's most diverse and impactful young professionals. And she has also competed on the famous Netflix show Next in Fashion.
So Nasheli's schooling and work, she has had so many amazing accomplishments throughout her life. Starting in 2003, she attended Alto de Chavannes affiliated with Parsons School of Design. In 2005, she became a senior designer at Grupo Epica. She then became a junior technical designer at GA Design and Sourcing in Puerto Rico for a year starting in 2007. Nasheli also became a production director in 2007 until 2011. From 2008 to 2011, she earned her bachelor's degree of fine arts in Puerto Rico. And then in 2010 and 2011, she became a CAD fashion design professor in Puerto Rico.
Good job.
And you with that, in 2011, she started being the creative director at the Nasheli Ortiz, and then she was the creator of the first fashion exhibit of the museum. In 2012 to 2013, she worked at the Savannah College of Art and Design. She got her Master of Fine Arts. She was also a graduate mentor and the fashion illustration instructor. In 2008 to 2015, it was another school in Puerto Rico where she was the fashion design program director, and she was also a fashion design professor. And then in 2015 to 2016, she was a creative director at Missouri Fashion Week and restoration assistant for the Charlie Lee Mindu collection in 2015. And then from 2014 to 2016, she was the owner and technical designer at Minted Design Studio. And then from 2013 to 2017, she was the assistant fashion design professor at Lindenwood University.
So a little bit about Nasheli Juliana's brand. So they're currently working using political, social, and religious issues from an apparel standpoint. And Nasheli has presented collections in both nationally and internationally, as well as being featured in magazines like Vogue and Forbes, among other great features. So a little bit about what she's doing today. Nasheli is currently a freelance technical designer that includes doing both trend research, some design work, textile design, creating technical drawings and prototype packages. She is also the chair of fashion design department and associate fashion design professor at Moore College of Art and Design. And she is, of course, the head designer of her own company, Nasheli Juliana. And then on behalf of all of us, I just wanted to say thank you for coming to speak to us, and I'll pass it off to Nasheli herself.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So many people, so many faces. Normally when I teach, I don't see many faces because people don't turn on their cameras. So thank you for turning your cameras. It's so good to see a person behind the spirits talking. So I'm going to share my screen. Thank you so much for that presentation. That was a great investigation. It's scary how much people can know about us now these days. So my name is Nasheli Juliana. Ortiz Gonzalez, but I've been working for Nasheli Juliana for the past 10 years. It started in Puerto Rico, but we're going to go there soon. My pronouns are she, her, but Philadelphia is my home for the last 4 years. So I was born in Puerto Rico, born and raised in Puerto Rico. That is where my beautiful accent comes from. I speak Spanish. So the importance of where I was born in my work is because it's very related to my aesthetics and my concerns. Because I was very close, it is very close to my upbringing and the colonial status of my island. Um, my work is interdisciplinary. Is the only way that I can pronounce it correctly. That word that we use so much in these days in academia, in everything, and I think it was good that you all knew about where I worked, so I can break a little down and show you a little how my brain works. So my upbringing was very busy. I was in ballet, I was in drawing, I was in singing, music, baseball, karate, everything. My mom was, I was used to eat in the van of my mom and go to the next activity. So I can see the interdisciplinary happening in my design work every day. And those layers are the most important thing. I remember myself playing with Barbies. Since I can remember, I was playing with Barbies. I don't know who have had that same experience that, oh, I love Barbies, and that is how I started with fashion design. So I can remember that it was my passion to steal my mom's napkins and use them to create little garments for my Barbies. But at 13, I started in a vocational school in the garment design program in my country. And I was just doing what I liked it. I went first, and it was very funny to see in the presentation that you introduced me that the line was horizontal, but it's not like that. It goes up and down, and a lot of ups, but a lot of downs also. So when I graduated from high school very young, and I was a seamstress already because I went to a vocational school. And when I went to the Catholic school, and I went for fashion design with a major in education. It was the thing that was available at the moment in my country. But I didn't finish, and I moved to another school. So I moved to the Universidad de Puerto Rico, and I studied in architecture. But then I was like, no, this is too much. I really want to go to something with my hands. And that is how I went to costume design. But then my parents saw that I was not serious about it, and they say, you need to do something with your life. So I went to Altos de Chabón, and that is when I went to Dominican Republic, and I did only an associate degree. When I finished my associate degree, I started working for Oscar, for different big companies. I moved around a lot. But at the end, I wanted to go back home. So I went to Puerto Rico. And when I decided to go to Puerto Rico, I started working as a technical designer. So I was a draper and a seamstress until that moment. So that there is where we go back to the layers. And I started working in Puerto Rico as a technical designer. And I was offered a position teaching, but they say, okay, you can get the job, but you need to finish your BFA. So until that moment, I only had an associate degree. So I went back to school, and it was very hard to have so much experience and going back to school with people that were very young, but with very fresh ideas, and I was very technical at that moment. So it was just functional, but I had great professors that pushed me and say, okay, why you went to architecture? So if you went to architecture, why you don't work with architecture in fashion? You don't have any technical problems, so that can be your challenge. So that is when I started working with these elements. And we can see, for example, here, the layering in the grace in the depth that the layers create. And we can see it also in Santiago Calatrava work. So Santiago Calatrava was a big inspiration during those 2 years in my BFA and my first year as an MFA in SCAD. And it was this thing about defining gravity and the layering, and you can see it here very clearly, but it's still very tangible. It was not a deep conscious thinking. It was just visual. It was just three-dimensional. It was form. It was very, very tangible elements of design. So my professor, he was like, what are you going to do for your thesis? And he was like, you're so political. You see human rights in everything, and you make it happen, and it's very interesting. So I started working with 9/11 for my thesis, and how politics are reflected in how we dress. And was a very interesting process and investigation to understand that after 9/11, we saw in the wrong ways Americana. That was the context and the representation of that union that was breaking up on the moment. And we saw Ralph Lauren with all the bandanas and all the new with the flag of United States and the camel boot, and we can see it in the streets. So I really love sketchbooks, and it's a big part, and it's essential in how I present my work. And I think it's because the process is the justification of each element in the collection, and it also protects you even from copying yourself, from copying something that you are like, okay, so maybe I'm designing this because I saw it 3 seasons ago, and it's my memory playing, or I am really designing this. And that process of edition is very important in my work. So from this one, Arquitectura Morta, I end up doing this collection that it was focused on um, representing that texture that we saw in the ruins, using the texture of the ruins as an inspiration in the garments, and we can see the structural, the architectural elements in the garments, and I use very the foundation of fashion, for example, that it was the armor, and it's just corset metal, it just wave and done as a something else, and that was the transformation that also went through the United States, but Sora was the collection that took me international. International, it was like the boom. The fashion girl Lily Gattins here in this photo used my dress to Paris Fashion Week to show a Paris Fashion Show, sorry, Fashion Week, and was featured in Vogue. And from there, I got invited to present that collection in in London Fashion Week. So this collection was inspired in the in nuns, in the uniform of nuns, and a very liberal group that I met, and it was at the construction of the elements of those uniforms that that from me were um, very feminist for the context, and I wanted to represent all those steps. This group of nuns said no. When the Pope said this is your uniform, they say no. We are going to design our own gown because we are the ones that are going to use it. And this group has been known um, for for being in protest, for being very activist, very artistic. So that is the one that brought me to London Fashion Week, to Vogue, and that was when really I started seeing me as a fashion designer, because I think it was a process, a long process from being a technical person, pattern making draper, to be more business oriented, more thinking on sellable stuff. And even though this collection was very structural, um, I I can see these garments working alone without the more three-dimensional elements. So I can see the wearability, and it was a very well sell, this collection. My brand is made by order, to be sustainable, to also I do everything. I have some interns, but basically I do everything. Now in the equation is added my company 22 Studio, that works more with community, with architectural lighting, with costume. And we can see again all the layers, all the interdisciplinary. So I see my students coming all the time here, and saying like, this is what I want to do. And I look at them, I look at all of you, and it's like, no, you don't know the path is very, very different from what we planned, from what we envision, from what we think is going to happen. And that interdisciplinary and those layers are very important in this time. After that, I work with the political aspects. I wanted to be more ready to wear, and but still with some design elements. In this collection, I use 3D glasses. So you needed to use, or everybody in the audience needed to have 3D glasses. So they can see the garments, textiles, the patterns. So this collection is called Stranded, and it was representing 8 atrocities that the United States committed against Puerto Ricans. So you can see them beautiful, but really when you put the 3D glasses, you can see in the patterns the different atrocities. And for me, this was a very interesting process because I have never considered myself a pattern designer. Even when you see the patterns, they are very mature, but it was a very interesting thing because it was thinking not only in the dimensionality of the body, not only in the silhouette, not only in the textures, but also thinking, okay, where I'm going to put this pattern that is not in the crotch area, that is not bothering or is not getting distorted with the body and how it moves. So that was a very interesting process. My last collection, just before everything happens, was presented in March 2020 in Paris Fashion Week. And this collection, I wanted to reuse all products. So another layer, I am very conscious about the use of the garments, of the product, of the fibers, of that little bean that created a plant to be in our bodies. So all the garments are made with recycled denim. So I asked all my friends and family to send me denim, their denims, and I deconstruct them and I remade them. So appropriation is the most ready to wear collection at the moment. Just before everything closed, I presented this one. And for me was very difficult to do this one because it was so wearable. It was so not me. And even though I had some three-dimensional elements and I have some layering happening on the waist and on the legs, and you can see me in that structure and in that composition. But for my taste and for what I wanted for the next stage of Nasheli Juliana, I think I want to go back to my more three-dimensional and complex silhouettes, complex concepts, but was an interesting process. So in the last year, I have been rethinking my priorities, and I am every day more interested in community-based programs and sewing as an empowering tool for communities. I have worked with great these artists um, as a custom designer with my business, 22 Studio, that I founded by me and my partner, Maria Velez. Um, so I have been going back to my country with my work, even though because the pandemic, um, I'm not being able to be physically in in um, in in the country. So I've been working with the North Square communities with the Pew Discovery Grant, and I've been working with all that interdisciplinary and all that um, all the tools that I have gained through the years. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah, that was Nasheli. Your story is just so incredibly inspiring. Thank you so much for taking the time to share it with us. For those of you that don't know Nasheli a little bit more personally,
Yeah.
she also has a big heart. She is a mother, she is a wife, and that is also a huge part of her life. I know this because we're friends on Facebook, so that's why I say on
Yeah.
a more personal level. And she also was on Next in Fashion, and a lot of people, I know she doesn't really want to talk about that. I don't know why she feels she doesn't want to talk about that, but I'm not going to push it. But she was absolutely amazing, and she did a really good job at, I feel, representing an entire culture of people that is so often underrepresented and underrecognized. And so I just want to give kudos to you for being the beautiful face of women, of your country, and women that are of underrecognized communities. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and how much I know so many of our students appreciate that. And also for being here today and showing our students that women of underrepresented communities can be successful just like you are. So thank you. I just wanted to take that time to say that really quickly.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It takes us a little more time. It takes us a little more, yeah, a lot of more work, because the color of our skin, for our beautiful accent, but we get there. We will get there.
I have to tell you, my program director just commented. My program director, Nyoka Wyatt. I'm sure you've heard about her at Jefferson. She is an amazing girl. So she said, from one island girl to another, kudos to you and everything that you've done. You should be really.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate the
I'm
space.
going to introduce my first student to ask her question, because we do have a few coming in.
Yeah.
Kelsey Chamberlain, would you like to ask your question to Nasheli?
Hi, thank you so much for coming and speaking with us tonight.
Hi, Kel.
My question is regarding your ability to make the correlations between politics and fashion. So as a fashion merchandising student, we talk a lot about how retail will change given the current state of the world. But I would love to hear your predictions for how you think the design process will change.
Wow, we have been talking about, thank you, Kelsey. My God, that is a strong one. That was tequila shot.
Oh my God, thank you.
So what I can say, the world is changing, our priorities are changing, and we have an amazing millennials and Gen Z coming with a different mind, with a different heart. So we're going to see the consumerism patterns changing, and that is going to change how we do fashion. So I think going back to the roots, root, root, and going back to that soul of the product, not only buying stuff because look cool, but buying products because have a history, because have a purpose, because I'm supporting my own community. I think those are questions that I see every day in my classroom, and I see my students answering those questions for themselves. So I think that the industry is going to slow down. We are going to see a lot of I hope we see a lot of the technical aspects of fashion to come back home. We need those jobs. We have the people that have the expertise for that for generations. And with our concerns on minority communities, on foreigners, eh, we are going to see a change in our priorities as a society. So all those immigrants that bring the fibers it to life are going to be very important, and we are going to change our priorities. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I love that. Maya Rimsey, do you want to say something?
Hi, yes. I didn't exactly have a question. It just hearing you talk, me, Miss Nyoka, and a couple of other students this morning were talking about combining fashion and activism. And after the conversation, I was feeling a little discouraged that there wasn't exactly that position yet. Like the fashion industry is obviously gearing towards that, but we haven't got to that place. And with job hunting, it's just so scary.
Mhm.
And hearing you talk just really made me feel so excited to be a part of the fashion industry.
I hug you.
So, like everything, you really bridging like that of like activism and caring about something, and it's still being exciting and fresh and cool and fashion oriented, like really made me so excited to work in the industry. So thank you so much. I needed to hear everything you had to say today. So
Thank you. Thank you. Amen. We are together. We have each other. We're not alone. We sometimes feel alone, and more as women of color, we feel very lonely. And I need to say it. I have the privilege of the color of my skin, and we all need to recognize our privilege, and we all in educational higher educational process. We are all privileged, very privileged.
Maya, you're making me cry on a recorded call.
I'm sorry. I was thinking that. I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry.
Don't be embarrassed, because look at all the support that you're getting in the chat box. We all have been there and we all support you. You are a strong woman. Everyone in this room right now are strong people, strong women, strong men, strong, however you identify. And I think, thank you, Maya, for saying that. That was so powerful. And I agree that Nasheli was just such a great example of International Women's Month. You know, she is the epitome of being here for today's chat. I mean, this really is International Women's Month, hearing from someone like this. But thank you. Thank you for that question. That was powerful and it was needed. Or thank you for that comment. It was powerful and needed. I'm sorry, Victoria Rivkin, you're going to have to follow up on that with your question. So go right ahead.
Okay, well, there's no beating that. That just set the bar. So we're going to bring it down a bit. So my question for you is, given your style seems to be, like you described, very structured, and I know you mentioned last March before the pandemic, it was a bit more not loungewear, casual wear. And so have you found that given the state of the world this past year, it's impacted your ability to design more freely, and how has your process maybe adjusted given the situation that we've been in? Have you sort of gone with it and had to adjust your style and your designs a bit? Or do you find yourself, I know you mentioned going back to your roots a little bit now. If you could just describe that process, that would be great. Thank you.
So thank you for the question. So I think it has been a hard year for everybody. And I'm a mother of 3 teenagers doing homeschooling. So it's not fun. Being a professor, being a designer, being a human, being a partner has been very difficult. So in the process of balancing everything, I say, what the freak I am doing? Ready to wear. Why I'm not having fun? No. Why I'm going to do something that people go and buy in Walmart? Why? No. So I'm going back to my roots, and I'm going to my design, and I'm going to do what what fill my soul. And I have the balance, and I went to college to have that balance. I went to college to have an MFA so I can teach, so I can have a baseline salary and make it work for me and my family. So it's also taking responsibility of the decisions that I have made. I wanted to have 3 kids. Okay, you wanted to be a fashion designer? Well, you need to be a half-time fashion designer because you need to sustain your decision. So for me has been that compromise, and deciding not to sleep and not to have a life, and maybe put the kids to bed and going to work in the studio at 11 p.m. to go to bed at 3 a.m. to go and wake up at 6 a.m. next day. But that is what I'm doing to fill out my dreams. And sometimes people see it from far away, and they see only with the cameras, and you are expert in faking it on Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and I don't know what is the new thing. um but um but yes, it's difficult, and it's difficult, but you need to find what works for your life. And for works for my life is to go back. So my reality is that I need to be a professor and a chair, and I love it. I love my students. They're my passion, and they continue challenging me every day. I need to do that for a living, but I am going to make the sacrifices to not having the life of maybe doing gardening on the weekend, but I'm going to have a collection to present in Paris Fashion Week. So is looking for that balance, and I don't want to look or being I ace. You know what? Is just keeping it real, because people think that this is straight, and for women of color that do not have money is very difficult every day. So, so yes, I'm going back, Victoria, to my dreams, and I'm going to do 3 dimension, and I'm going to have fun on the runway, and I'm going to joke with my runway viewers, and I am going to make them think. So that is my process of protest. My protest is educating people of what is wrong.
Thank you so much for that response. That was perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you, Victoria.
you are passion.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
passion is your third name before Gonzalez. It's Nasheli Juliana Pastrone.
Juliana, we are.
Juliana, I know.
I love that you say that is energy and it's not drama, because some people say that I'm a drama queen.
Don't know. They don't know, but we have 10 minutes left, and I want to get to another amazing question.
Okay.
Emily Miller.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you. Well, 2 things, well, technically 3, but one, thank you so much for coming to speak to us today. I actually watched your show when I was abroad in Rome. So me and my roommates all watched it the entire season together. So this is really fun to kind of be able to interact with you and have the chat. But I was just kind of wondering what your favorite experience throughout your career journey has been so far.
Okay. So let's say the show. Let's take it to the way. So the show. So it was a great experience. It was something that I was not prepared for. In the process of being cast for the show that it took almost a year, because they do many interviews. They do a lot of psychological things, and you need to sign waivers and stuff. So the whole process, I thought that it was going to be a little more professional, the show. I didn't met my partner until we were there, and it was difficult. It was difficult, and it was a disadvantage. Um, and I need to say that my it was a disadvantage also that I'm a professor, and I need to explain that because I need to be proper. Imagine me being the drama queen Nasheli in freaking TV. So I needed to be very careful. And that is something also that you as younger internet people need to have in mind so hard. Like whatever you post is going to be posted somebody save it. Um so yeah, so taking out of the first thing, the show, Emily. So most important, I think it has been by waves. Um when I started my career in fashion as a draper was because I was pregnant with my first kid doing my thesis for my associate degree, and Oscar de la Renta came to the he was part of the juror, and I did this amazing dress. It was amazing because I did it with umbrella. I didn't have a lot of money, and and he said, "You are going to be a great designer." And my professor said, well, before that, she needed to be a mother. And she did it in a very disrespectful way. And Oscar de la Renta, well, at least I am going to give her her first internship. So that is how I got my first internship. So even going to New York with a baby, and I have my internship with Oscar de la Renta. So that moment that it was hopeless with me, for me, has been like always I have an angel, and I need to give credit to all my angels because it's difficult. It's very difficult. I'm alone in this country with three teenagers. Imagine that. Another culture, another accent, another everything. I don't understand even when my kids talk so many times. I cannot help them with homework because I don't know the new math. What? It's so difficult. But I have always had those angels that are like, hey, Nasheli, you're amazing. You are going to do that. So it's opportunities, it's the connection, is to be grateful and try to pay it forward. So that moment was very important for me. And then when I was doing my thesis, I didn't have money. And one of my professors donated me $2,500 to finish my thesis. So is just my I have angels in life. I don't know. So those, I think those were the moments that I started doubting of myself, and somebody say, I believe in you. So those wake up moments, I think, Emily.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I think the overarching message that was so important from what Nasheli just said is, and I want you to take away from this, because sometimes you hear the story, but you don't hear the theme behind it. So what I want you to take out of that story is, in times of adversity and times that can break you because people are putting you down, and I love all of you, and I don't think any of you deserve to be put down, but inevitably it will happen by some jerk. It
Yeah.
may be in your career, it may be driving on the road, it may be in a lot of different places. But in some place of adversity, you will have a pivotal moment around some type of adversity that happens in your life. And this is what Nasheli just shared, right? A pivotal moment around an adversity. And you can take that and say, I'll show you, and build better, or you can let it really hurt you. And what she did and how she built her career and her success was building up from that and showing I can do better. You're not going to tell me who I am. I'm going to show you who I am. And I think that's so important for you all to take away, because you're never going to like everyone you work with. Goodness knows sometimes you don't like the people I pair you with in class, right? So, because you have different work ethics. So that's inevitable. You don't have to love everyone, right? But it's how you respond to the adversity that makes you that kind of woman.
Yeah.
Makes you that kind of success that you're looking at right there. That's what makes it.
Yeah, and I think also I hated that I need to go through all this work to do something. I hate it. I don't want to be the success cliche story. And we all know that. But stay mad, people. Stay mad for the injustices. Stay mad because racism. Stay mad because homophobia. And everything that you do, everything fashion, everything that you write, everything that you believe need to be impregnated with that you believe, with that anti-racism, with that anti-homophobia. So I think staying mad and using that madness not to destroy ourselves, not to educate anybody that do not want to be educated, but to feel one to each other's. And that's it. That's it. It's always going to be somebody that is stronger than you at that moment and is going to give you that little push.
Oh, I don't think we could have ended it any better. So I kind of just want to end it there. Stay mad about injustice. Stay mad about racism. Stay mad about homophobia, and change it. Do something about that. Are you the next Kamala?
I know.
I think you should. I mean, if that's office,
Thank
my
you.
vote's in.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any last minute questions to pop in or comments?
Yes. One more?
I just wanted to say thank you for speaking with us. I really received your message well too. I just loved it. I loved everything that you said and everything that you've gone through, which just shows that we really can get through anything. You just have to stay grounded, stay focused, and not let the adversity get to you.
Thank you, Destiny.
Thank you, Destiny. Anyone else? All right. Well, can our the people, what's the word? Is it introducers or introductors? Like, what's the word? Every week I have a problem with this. Our introductors. Can you take a picture? If Nasheli is okay, can you take a picture, a screenshot of us? And our beautiful do it. Give us a countdown, Kerrigan. Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you. Do we want to do a silly one? Just one silly one. Let's do a silly one. What do we want to do? Can we do like, I feel like that last message really inspired me. Maybe we want to do like an equal sign.
Okay.
You want to do an equal sign? Okay.
Show your tattoos, people, if you have tattoos.
Oh, I don't have tattoos.
Okay, I have.
1, 2, 3.
I love that. So now we can put that message on our Instagram. Nasheli Juliana says, stay mad about injustice, stay mad about racism, stay mad about homophobia. I love it.
Yeah.
Put that picture up. Marketing 101.
Well, thank you so much for the space.
Thank you so much for coming to speak to us. If we can give Nasheli a huge round of applause, she deserves it. Yes, that was amazing. And everyone, oh, look at all the applause we're getting. And everyone, I will see you all next week.
Thank you so much.
Remember that you can in with Nasheli, follow her on Instagram.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Oh, she signed off. Okay.